All right. What is up, everybody? Welcome to Exposing Powerful Lies. Thank you all so much for being here. Please like and share. If you guys want to support the show, we are taking super chats tonight. If you want to support the show, you can send super chats via CashApp, PayPal, Venmo. All the links are in the description and in the live chat as well. I'm sure our mods will be posting it. Guys, I hope you're having a great day. The other way that you can support the show is by sponsoring a stream. We do offer sponsored streams here. So if you'd like to do that, you can send a $100 donation with the subject, the topic you want me to cover. I'll spend about 10 hours looking into whatever it is and then write a bunch of notes on it and then present usually a 1 to 3 hour show on whatever the topic is. We do have 2 of those coming up. So massive shout out to Slowboy Whiteboard and to Jason for that. Much love to all you guys. I'm so glad you're here. I am very honored to bring our guest today. We're starting a little bit early today. Honestly, I feel betrayed somewhat. I'm hurt. I thought Jay was one of the good guys, and I just found out that he's Central Time and not Eastern Time, like the good guys are. And so I'm a little heartbroken about that, but I think I'll get over it. If you guys don't know Jay Dyer, obviously most of the people here probably know this guy, but if you don't, Jay Dyer runs jaysanalysis.com, does analysis of philosophy, the Globalist book series, where he goes over the globalists in their own writing, basically tells you what they say about their own little schemes and machinations that they get into. He does film analysis and review. He's the author of Esoteric Hollywood 1 and 2. He had a show on Gaia called Hollywood Decoded, where he broke down different esoteric symbolism in Hollywood films. And then he's got the YouTube channel and the Rockfin channel that is really taking off. And so go subscribe to him over there. And he's also an amateur Instagram hand model. He takes pictures of his hands, and they're really good. The composition's really nice, you know. Amateur yoga instructor, amateur, what else? Cringecore rapper, all sorts of stuff. He's got his fingers in all sorts of different pies. And so without further ado, welcome to the show, Jay Dyer. Thank you so much for being here, brother.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm apologize. I'm really tired. We had a late night and we had to get up early for church. So I'm probably not going to be in the most comedic mood. So
you better be, or I'm gonna be so upset. No, it's all good, man. I'm actually exhausted too, because same thing. I did not get very much sleep at all, and then waking up for church early. And then my godfather told me last night, "Oh, make sure you set your clock ahead." I'm like, damn it, dude. It always gets you on like the absolute worst day. You know, where it's like, great, now I get one less hour of sleep. Excellent. Yeah, so I can't stand that. But you know what? Whether you're in a comedic mood or not, hopefully these videos we got to show you will elicit some sort of response, because we got them ranging from oh yeah, that's cringe, to like, oh dear God, burn it with fire. We got some pretty messed up stuff to show you. One of them is a Mormon cartoon. I'm curious to see if you've ever seen any of these before. I've basically been scouring the internet. Like I told you before the show started, when I initially invited you on, I wanted to talk about sort of the attacks that you've been getting from. I know you mentioned certain like OCA, was it bishops or priests, basically came out and made like a public statement saying, "Don't associate with Jay. Don't talk to this guy. He's a bad man," or something like that. Explain a little bit more about that.
Well, we'll do all that in due time. I can't really go into a lot of that right now.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, what else? I wanted
But
to
yeah,
talk.
I mean, there's a push, I guess, just amongst the clergy that have obviously pretty liberal views to
Right.
minimize any kind of influence that people that like my material would have, which is unfortunate because a lot of people are new to the church and they don't know these kinds of squabbles with jurisdictions, and then they kind of have to find out the hard way that within Orthodoxy there's all the same types of problems that are in other areas. Not that there's any false hopes. I don't think people thought that like it would be immune to the problems everywhere else in the world, but
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, I'm sure there's some people that are naive or new to it, but yeah, no, I mean, the worldly structure of the church obviously is made up of men, and just like any other political organization or any group of people, you're going to have the opportunity for sort of bad things to happen. And I certainly don't want to talk about it to sort of create any drama or to throw stones at anybody, but I did want to talk about it in a more abstract sense, because I think that really, I mean, everybody knows my opinion. I think that, and not to puff your head up or whatever, but I think you're one of the most effective Christian apologists out there today. I certainly, I don't know a lot about the history of apologetics or whatever, but just in my own life, I've seen so many people who have come to the church because of either your work or the work of the people that you're associated with, David Patrick Harry, all the guys at Patristic Faith, all the internet clergy and laity that are presenting really like educational and informative videos and lectures on this stuff. I think you're doing really good work. And so naturally, if you're doing that and you're bringing people into the church, and not just random people, but people that, on more average level, like are aware of more of like the geopolitical stuff and the Freemasonic stuff, all that stuff, you know what I mean? You're gonna receive some sort of pushback attacks from it. And so I just thought it was a important point to make, right? That it's not a surprise to see that people come out and attack you and go like, "Oh, this guy bad. This is a bad guy right here," because, well, not only are you bringing people into the truth, but into the church, but they're not like normies. You know what I mean? A lot of the people I know that have come into the church based on, discovering the church through you are more woke, if you will, more aware of things. They're not. They don't have the boomer mentality, if you will, if that makes any sense.
yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I mean, it's not really what I ever planned to do. I didn't think I'd be doing this. So
Right.
it's kind of a thing that happened on its own. And, I hope I can continue to try to be a good representation of all this stuff. I mean, I don't consider myself a representative of the church. So I'm just a guy
Right.
who, talks about philosophy and talks about movies and talks about goofy things. And then,
Right.
happen to have interests in terms of apologetics and all that. But, if it's helps people, then that's great. And hopefully I can continue to at least try to live a virtuous life that coincides with it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is like we're all human beings, and all of us are flawed. And I feel like whenever there's a public figure, people have this sort of perfectionist mindset, especially when you're talking about Christianity. A lot of like the sort of spurgy people that will come out and attack you, these sort of random faceless people online. It's like, I don't know, they just come from a perfectionist. Oh, he said a bad word, or he's not perfect. He would do this better if he did it like this. And it's like, well, he's doing good work that's effective. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to be perfect, right? There's always going to be flaws. And it sort of comes from this unrealistic mind frame of like, it's got to be perfect. And then that opens up the door for people to come in and be fake and be, oh, I'm a very pious man and I never sin and I'm perfect. You know what I mean? And I think that what you do, the reason why I like it so much is because you're so obviously sincere. You are
I
just
think
a
it's a
dude.
lot. Yeah, a lot of it has to do with insecurities, levels of insecurities.
Right.
Anybody that feels the need to project on the internet their piety and how often they pray and how many icons they have, and
Right.
let me show you my prayer rope every time I'm on the computer screen. I mean,
Right.
that to me suggests just insecurity. And I think that as you get older and you hopefully get a little more secure and mature, you don't feel the need to project this to be, signaling how pious you are. It's just a form of pride. It's a form of immaturity, and it's also unrealistic. It's a way of portraying not who we really are.
Right.
So sometimes I think people try to do that to sort of stir themselves up to maybe being more pious or whatever. But I think that as you get older and as you get a little more aware of everybody's failings and difficulties, you understand that that's not really doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
So, for example, back when we had the Discord, which I've since handed over to other people,
Hmm.
um, we had a policy where we would ban anybody that had icon images as their profile. And the reason for that was not iconoclasm. It was because
Right.
those people almost 99% of the time tended to be problem people because they were either overly zealous new converts or they were people who were really just there to try to show off and sort of be self-righteous and like that. So yeah, I
Yeah. It
just think
may.
it's immature and it's silly, and I think it's more realistic to be who you are than trying to project this image and this this facade that you're a
Yeah.
saint. None of that really is appropriate on the internet anyway. Like trying to project
Right.
sanctity in terms of icon profiles. To me it degrades what all that is, and
Oh,
it's just
yeah, it
childish,
does. It
unrealistic.
harkens back to the sort of Protestant, like you said, a facade, and I think it signals like a lack of faith, maybe that Christ tells us like if you are praying where people can see you, right? If you're making this like facade of your piety, that's your reward. Your reward is that people will look at you and go, "Wow, that guy is super spiritual, man," and that's it. That's what you get. Whereas we're taught to go in secret and to pray in secret and to
Yeah,
do good
exactly.
works in secret,
Right.
and so yeah, I think that just shows a lack of faith in people that they really don't believe what they're saying. They just want to appear spiritual for whatever reason it is.
Yeah, I
And
think that it's more honest, in my view, to just be the person that you are. And,
well, do you
when you
believe
see,
in Christ? If you believe Christ is the truth, right, then the truth is what matters. It's not what isn't. It's not the image, it's not the optics, it's the truth. And so, like you
right. But
said,
I'm
be who
saying
you
that for
are.
if you're a person on the internet, I'm saying that to me, it's
Mhm.
more honest to be the person that you are
Mhm.
rather than being an image of, you know,
Right.
an anonymous profile with, an
Right.
icon and a bunch of saint quotes. And
Right.
the next thing you're doing, you're telling married people what they can and can't do in the bedroom after you've gained, 10,000
Yeah.
subscribers on Twitter. I mean, it's just damaging and it's silly and it's immature and it's not, it's all, what's the word I'm looking for? Performative.
Right. Yeah. No, and I mean, for sure, immature is the right word. And I think a lot of, if we saw the people that were behind those profiles, they probably, most of them would be younger people, which we all know like new converts are full of zeal, and that can be a good thing. But there's also all these pitfalls that you could fall
Yeah.
into, especially
Right.
online, in a public place, which is why I've always tried to focus on the sincerity aspect. And that's what I meant when I said, if you believe in Christ, like the truth is what matters, right? And so I always try to be sincere and be just who I actually am. And it's like I feel like people look at me, they can see my sins on my face. It's like I'm not trying to present an image of a fake thing. It's like really I've just been doing this channel just to have fun, and I find it's been fun to meet people, make friends, and to support the people that are what we call fast boys, right? I always say I'm a slow boy, and then the fast boys like you guys, I like to support it and point people in the direction of it, because I do think that ultimately it's doing good work, drawing people into the church, and it's been a real honor to even be able to participate. And it's been great to see your channel growing and stuff. And I think the bigger your channel gets and the more success you receive, yes, it's a business and you're trying to you know basically have a career and have your livelihood, but the more people that you get, the more subscribers you get, the more eyeballs are going to be on the debates, the lectures, all of these things. And those are the things that literally brought me into the church. like you and Tristan specifically. And obviously, as a Christian, I know that's Christ working through men. I'm not saying that's like you're this great, but it's that material that you've did that is high quality that I know helped me in my life, and I know for a fact it's helped others, and that's why I'm saying it's an honor to even be able to mod the chats and stuff like that, because I do believe in the
think
work.
There's a lot of things going on with like modern, anti-intellectualism, that people think that there's some superiority to not being educated or not debating, and that makes them a better person or something like that.
Yes.
When debate is really a neutral thing, it can be good, it can be bad. It's like anything else. It doesn't it's not inherently bad.
Right.
But a lot of people, especially if they're in that very super pious mindset, they kind of have a anti-debate attitude. But tons of church fathers were philosophers, they were academics, they did a lot of debates. So there's nothing inherently wrong with debate, unless you just want to be against the majority of the theologically minded church fathers. Obviously debate has its limits. It's not something that everybody has to do, but the idea that because you get heated in a debate, or you make jokes using classic rhetoric or something like that to make jabs at your opponent, that makes you a bad person, is just absurd.
Right.
And it's really dishonest, because if you really feel that way, why are you even on the internet? You know what I mean? You shouldn't even be on. You should be praying. If you're so pious, then get off the internet and go pray.
Right. And a lot of the people, they'll use
a lot of this is just people are looking for a way to one up, right?
Yes,
And so it's insecurities, and they feel like, well, I'm better than him because I don't argue with people or something like that. And it's like, that's just such a childish mindset. But yeah, I mean, I don't feel bad about debating. Have I been too passionate at times? Sure. I'm sure I've gotten heated, but I mean, that's what men do. That's just a feature of masculinity. We live in a completely feminized situation in modernity, where people feel like, just to even debate itself is something that is seen as too masculine, toxic masculinity.
Right. You hurt my feelings. Yeah, no. And honestly, too, you get a lot of these people who will criticize you for being mean because they see one part in a debate where you say, like, or you get fed up, right? But they don't talk about the first 2 hours where you baby step and you're walking in circles with this person, being very kind, being very patient, walking them in circles. And then finally, after 2 hours, you're just like, this is so dumb. He said it. He said it's dumb. Oh, my goodness, And so that's what I've
I'm sure I guarantee you all the people who are being super critical have also called people dumb. So
right. And
doesn't the Bible tell us that we can identify? Proverbs tells us all the time to avoid the fool.
Right.
Well, how are you going to avoid the fool if you can't identify who's a fool? So, there's a time to make judgments, and there's a time when it's inappropriate to judge. So
yeah. And
after 2 hours, if somebody's being foolish, there's nothing wrong with saying you're being foolish.
Yeah. Yeah. I do think it's indicative of, I don't know, they're sort of like you said, as far as one-upping and being able to point and judge at somebody, it always comes from this thing of not focusing on yourself, right? And you want to look at the other people and say, well, look at what he's doing. He could have done this better. He could have done that better. And it's indicative of the sort of culture in YouTube and on the internet right now of idolization of public figures. Right. So like before I became Orthodox, when I was still floating around in truther circles and trying to, find the truth, basically, I was just absorbing whatever information I could. I was very much lost at sea. And you would find all these different people, all these different channels. I won't name them, but these cults of personalities sort of rise up around the YouTuber, around the person. It's like this person's opinion is the one that we all value. And if you go against this opinion, then you're anathema, you're gone, And I think when people have that sort of perfectionist mindset, when they're looking at somebody like you, it comes from that they're still in that idolization mindset where they think of you as like this, like Superman or something. It's like, no, he's a person. Like you go do a 2-hour debate with some atheist and see if you can make it the whole time without calling them dumb at the end. Like you just try.
Yeah. Also, that part of that has to do with young guys that look up to older guys.
Right.
There's a kind of, you put people on a pedestal, and I did this when I was a young guy too. I would put people up on a pedestal, and then when I noticed their flaws, I would be very let down.
Right.
But the reality is that as you get older, you're going to realize that, not you in particular, but just people in general, especially if you're 18, 19, 20 or whatever.
Yeah.
And you see people make mistakes. You see people sin. I mean,
Yep.
you know, you're going to deal with that, and you're going to come to that realization, and your leaders and your champion, your hero will let you down. And that's just part of growing up. It's kind of like when you're a teenager and you realize, you know, when you're a kid, you believe anything your parents say.
Right.
And then when you get to be a teenager, you start to realize that your parents are human beings, and they've made mistakes, and they get things wrong, and they don't know everything. And then you feel rebellious, and you're like, ugh. And then as you mature, you then respect your parents again when you grow out of your teenage years, because you realize that you're growing up into the phases of life that they've already had.
Right.
And so I think the same thing occurs, you know, in theology, the intellectual life, religious life. You know, you grow out of these kinds of immature stages of these unrealistic expectations. And you know, the greatest saints in Scripture who were already saints made you know, they sinned. David sinned seriously, even after being a man after God's own heart.
Right.
So I mean, people are going to fail you. They're going to, you know, they're going to do these kinds of things in life, and you just have to be prepared for that and become your own man. That's the big lesson here, is that when in my own life, when I had a lot of hero worship and putting people on pedestals, it wasn't until I got into my 30s that I was able to really, I think, grow out of that and have a more mature attitude towards realizing that I can have a respect for these people while I recognize, you know,
that's the key. That's the key difference. Is it respect, or is it idolization? Is it, oh, I see something in a person I respect, like all the people like in our circle, you know, all the other mods, all the other friends that support your work and stuff. It's like we're not idolizing you. We're not looking up to. We're like, oh my goodness, he's so great. We see what you're doing. We respect it. And we're like, that's awesome. You know, that's good work. You know, that's a key difference between sort of the idolization and the worship that we see in like these other YouTube communities and stuff like that I mentioned. There's a big difference there, and I do think it's normal. I do think that most of us, like when we're younger, everybody has that sort of hero or that big brother, that whatever it is that you look up to. And like you said, it's just a part of growing up. You sort of get out of that naive headspace, and it does eventually lead, like you said, to a greater respect as you're older, and you realize, oh yeah, my parents weren't perfect, but they did a pretty dang good job, you know, for having all the flaws that they do. And now I'm in their position, and this is hard. You know what I mean? This is harder than I thought. So yeah, no, I think that's a really good point, talking about being your own man, not idolizing people. And that's, again, one of the things that I really appreciated about discovering your work and discovering the church, is because that helped me in ways I can't even put into words. You know what I mean? That's why I am so vocally a proponent of like all the people online doing this stuff. Because I mean, if somebody would have came to me 5 years ago and told me, oh, you're going to be a Christian, I wouldn't even believe them. You know what I mean? I wouldn't even know what that meant. I would have thought, because I was raised Protestant, I went to Catholic school, I thought I understood all that stuff, you know. And when I came across your debates, I realized, like, I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing about Christianity. I know Billy Bob's Baptist strip mall church, you know, with the Starbucks in the lobby. That's what I knew. Or I knew, you know, the Roman Catholic school that I went to. That's all I knew. And then when I started to see you debating people that held atheist views or held, you know, Gnostic views, the people that I thought were the intellectuals, the people I thought were the intellectually superior, you know, worldview, I realized this is like really dumb. This is like a really on its face dumb position that I could not see for most of my life. That's valuable work, dude. That's really good.
Yeah, I think philosophy, yeah, the good part of Christian philosophy is that it serves pretty much just to do that. Right. It serves to show the inadequacies and failures of autonomous and you know, human focused philosophies. And that's about all it can do. I mean, it's just kind of a sign that points you in the right direction. And so, you know, that's why I've always said I'm not anybody's spiritual father. I don't give you spiritual advice on your life. That's not my role.
Right.
And I learned that because, you know, cult leaders, gurus, all these crazy cringe, you know, mind control lunatics, people that are in delusion, they have this God complex. They have this desire to control. And one of the things about Orthodoxy that I think is appealing is that there's always a checks and balance on authority. And so there's no abuse. There's not, ideally, people can theoretically abuse authority in Orthodox Church, but I'm saying typically the way the system is structured is that it's a lot more conducive to avoiding authority abuse, due to the fact that, you know, everybody kind of is checks and balanced relationship with other people, with spiritual father, with priests, bishops, all that. It's synodal. So there's like there's not one person that can just destroy everything, right? There's
Right.
there's firewalls and checks and balances, and so that's why I understand as a layperson that my role is limited. I'm fine with that. I don't have any desire to try to tell people what to do with
Same.
their personal life or who they need
And
to
much respect to those people, because that is a terrifying responsibility that I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine being a priest. I can't even imagine being a clergy and having that responsibility on you to be able to give people those kinds of advices. I much prefer the pointing the way. You know what I mean? So I hear you there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that's why, I don't really feel too bad. If I was going into clerical work or something like that, if I was going to be in the priesthood, maybe in that situation, I think, like Luke Kindrot, when he did that, he kind of took down and
Right.
turned off his channel in terms of like political stuff.
Yeah.
And that makes sense. And, if I was going to be in the clergy, I think a lot of the comedic stuff or the stuff, the goofy stuff, it would be inappropriate really to be combining those things. But, I have no desire to be clergy. I have no pretensions that I'm anybody's spiritual father. So I don't feel bad or wrong about, continuing to do the type of, combination analysis of geopolitics and movies and philosophy.
You shouldn't feel bad about that stuff, because that is what makes it partially so effective, is the fact that, I mean, look, Orthodoxy, especially in America, as we all know, is a very small percentage, right? We are a very small minority in America. Even though we're growing, still small. There's not that many people out there looking up Orthodox, apologetics, but there is a lot of people looking up film analysis. There is a lot of people looking up geopolitical stuff, conspiracy stuff, all that stuff. And just even if you're not even mentioning the church, just from being an Orthodox Christian, that's the worldview that you come from. That's the phronema you have. And so by people engaging in these other types of content that you put out, you're introducing them to Orthodoxy, which again, like a lot of people have never even experienced in their entire lives in America. Like myself, my whole life, that's that Russian church. Yeah, I got one buddy, he's like some Russian Christian or something. That's all I knew about it. You know what I mean? And so that, I think, is actually more effective and a good model when you compare it to other channels that are all completely focused on Orthodoxy. Not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that that's a better model for growth and for reaching more people, I think, because you're diversified. You're doing different things, and you bring people in from other spots, right? Not even to mention the stuff that you do with, as you say, Lord Voldemort. That's a massive audience that you can reach, right? And they're people who are primed and seeking the truth and see that there's evil in the world. They see that the spirit of the age, that the world is corrupt, right? And they're trying to find the answers. That is like the perfect audience to hear your content, And so I know we've all been really happy to see you doing those more. And Jethro, shouts out to Jethro. It's like the biggest proponent of your 4th hours with AJ. He's always messaging us, 4th hour tonight, let's go. Those are always really good. And
thanks.
I think that stuff is really helpful then if you were to just do, an Orthodox channel and have that be that,
Well, again, I mean, that's not my personality is not just that. I'm not a monastic. I'm not a clergy person.
And it's YouTube. It's supposed to be you,
Right.
It's supposed to be your personality.
And I mean, I think other people have other dimensions to them, right?
Right.
I mean, I don't think it's unorthodox to say that people have other interests. So,
well, that's the thing, is we all share a lot of those. That's another reason. That's what brings people in. That's what endears people to different YouTubers and stuff. Is we see similarities in ourselves. Oh, I like those kind of movies, or oh, I like that kind of music, or oh, I have a similar past to this. And
I think useful. That's part of the goodness of the created order, right? I mean, it's not the highest good, but it's a good, and all these other things that exist, these other disciplines, these other interests, those are goods as well. And so I think it's a Gnostic, or kind of I don't know what the right word is. It's this sort of false piety idea that, if you talk about, if you're interested in all these other things, that you're somehow bad or something like that. And it's true that anything could potentially be an idol. Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, anything could be an idol, right? You can make an idol of your memories, the past, future plans and designs. You can make an idol of geopolitics, right? So none of the things themselves are bad, but we certainly have to use, I think, wisdom and caution in terms of how we go about discussing and presenting these things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm happy to be a sign pointer, and
I think it comes
yeah.
from fear as well. It comes from a sort of fear of like we've seen in the past. Oh, don't ever watch movies, right? The saints say never watch the film or never go to the theater. Or don't listen to secular music. Don't do any. It comes from this place of fear that we as Christians are not supposed to have. We fear God. We're not afraid of the world. We're not like sitting here scared of Hollywood. Now, yeah, you need the armor of God. You do need discernment. You do need to be sort of trained in spotting the evil and understand. You should be an adult. You should have discernment if you're going to
Well, usually this is
participate in
lay
those
people
things.
who fancy themselves as
Yes.
monastics, and they're not at that point, having gone under spiritual guidance to get to that point. So
Yeah.
if you were a monastic person and you were saying these kinds of things, that would be understandable because you've gone into that commitment and
Right.
you've kind of put yourself as because all of this happens under the guidance of another person, a spiritual father. And that's what's so different from a lot of other religions where it's all kind of do it yourself, especially in Protestantism and even in the Roman Catholic world. A lot of this can go on without clerical oversight. And the one thing that's always been hammered home in terms of the Orthodox domain is that you do what you're doing under the supervision of your spiritual father. You don't take upon yourself titles and prayer rules and public displays, because you
Right.
need to be under somebody more practiced than you to help you not fall into delusion and to guide you in the right path.
Yeah, that's the
So
checks and balances you were talking about earlier.
yeah, and that's necessary for going into, especially for monastic life. That's why you have these periods, right? You don't just join the monastery and suddenly you're
Yeah,
monastic or
go be a
something.
hermit and hide in the mountains right away. Like yeah.
Right. It's a long process and you have to live it out many, many years, right? I
Right.
think, I don't remember if this is right, but something like, you got to be Orthodox like 5 years before you even going to seminary, right?
Right.
So to become a new convert and to call yourself a monastic and to take on all these titles and all this, it's just not honest. It's not authentic,
Right.
and it's not the proper way to do it, to take your time.
Yeah, and it's like you said. A lot of people, it would make sense to say, oh, don't watch any films if you're a monastic, because what monastics do is a sort of divorce from the world. They step out of the world in a manner of speaking, right?
Well, and it's also anybody that's under the guidance of a spiritual father would not be saying that online.
Right.
Nobody's spiritual father would be telling them to go online and tell everybody to not watch movies and
Go
listen
tell
to
people
secular
what to
music.
do. Yeah, go tell people what to do. Go give people spiritual advice, you new
Of course not.
convert. Right. Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And so we know that that's not coming from a place of wisdom. It's coming from some other place. So,
Right.
yeah, all of that is just, hopefully people can grow out of that and be a little more honest with themselves and in terms of, where they are in their life and in their trek, rather
That's
than,
on
again, all of this sort of, it's just part of it too, is the internet allows people to have this facade and to put up a display.
yeah.
And so,
That's really
that's
on
that's
each
why I
and
think
every
it's better to
person.
just be yourself than to
It
try to have a display.
It is, yeah, and that sort of impetus falls on each and every person as far as having discernment, as far as their own life, whether or not they're actually in the church, whether or not they're actually doing the spiritual work, right? And so I always say real recognizes real, and a lot of times we get bogged down in worrying about all of the, the people that don't get it, or the people that are throwing stones, or the people that are doing it wrong, and that stuff is important to point out and be like, hey, don't do that stuff. But I do think it's important to acknowledge as well, like the massive amount of people there are that do get it, the massive amount of people that do watch your stuff and do participate in the learning experience that has been the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years of all these great Orthodox apologists online teaching us. Even I just spoke with Father Deacon Ananias. I never went to college. I learned so much about logic and about debate and about philosophy from you and him and from a lot of these people. There are a lot of people out there that see what you're doing, appreciate what you're doing, and are not, spurgs and are not like retarded. You know what I mean? Not to use bad words, but like honestly. And it is very easy to sometimes, especially like as a YouTuber, you it's the bad stuff that really sticks out to you a lot. I've noticed that in my own channel
That's
and
true.
stuff.
Yeah.
And so it can be very easy to sort of over focus on that and miss the majority of the people that are really great people. And that's been the most fun thing about engaging in your chat as well as doing my own channel is all the people I've met. I used to do the train hop and hobo thing. I know you've heard that before. And one of the main things that I enjoyed about that was meeting people. I love stories. I love telling stories. I love hearing stories. That's why I love film so much. And
Hmm.
this has been like just a logical extension of my experience doing that because I just learned to be sociable and meet people and learn their stories and stuff. And that's been such a blessing, man. It's been so great to not only to meet the YouTubers and stuff, but the people in the chat. There's so many great people out there, and I've made some really good friends, and even just the talented folks that have come out of the chats. People like Rachel Wilson. I mean, she's killing it, dude. Shout out to Rachel, Based Homeschool Mom. She's killing it, man. And so many great people. Henley, Basil Analyzer. I mean, dude, there's just so many great folks out there, and it's really been a great part of my life these last few years. Like I said,
Yeah, I
just
would agree with
engaging
that.
and
I
learning.
think that, things changed quite a bit in my life 6 or 7 years ago, moving into
Hmm.
doing all this stuff full time. And that
Right.
mainly afforded the ability to meet tons and tons of really cool people. So I think that's probably one of the highlights of the last 5 or 6 years has been just like you said, being able to meet so many cool people. So there's always pros to the internet and all this stuff. There's cons, but yeah, I've met so many cool people, so many really smart people that have taught me a lot.
Right.
So, and even the people that, come along that hate you, they have to deal with. The one thing I've learned is that those God providentially puts those people there to make you better
Yeah.
and to help you to mature, to become more, to grow in your faith and not get upset and not be as easily triggered as you might have been back in your 20s. So,
Yep. And
that's part of it. Yeah.
sometimes they're saying something true too, and that's also a helpful thing too. Is
Yeah, actually, I was reading an article that somebody who absolutely hates me,
Hmm.
a priest who had written an article some years back critiquing online orthodoxy.
Right.
And I read that article, and the irony is that I agree with everything he said.
Right.
Like
Right.
this, he was making the argument that if your experience is purely online, if you don't go to church, if you're not a part of the life of the church, if you're not activating or actualizing this, then what you're learning online is really not doing anything for you. And I actually totally agree with that.
100%.
If you
That's what
don't
we
have a
call.
spiritual, if you don't probably if you haven't found a spiritual father and you're just sort of DIY, right?
Right.
So actually, everything that the guy who can't stand me said in his article, I totally agree with. So
That's what we
yeah,
call orthodox and opinion only, and that's like a very easy trap to fall into. I fell into it as well when I first discovered it and became convinced of the truth of Christ. Like you just are in this place. Okay, I know the truth now. Sweet, I got it. And it's like I got the good opinion. Great, and that's so easy to fall into. And shout out to Tristan, Primal Edge Health, man. He's the reason why I entered the church. He's like, so yeah, you seem pretty convinced now. You going to church? I'm like, no. He's like, what's your address? He took my address. He found a church
yeah,
like 3 blocks from my house. He's like, here's the phone number for the priest. Give him a call. Go down. And so that's
yeah,
why I always say thank you to Tristan because man, dude, like, and it's just so easy to do, especially coming from a truth or conspiracy type mindset of like finding the truth. It's like, oh, okay, I see that this is logical. I see that this is straight up, but it takes a push sometimes to actually
yeah,
begin
yeah.
the
I had
work.
similar situations too. I mean, I
Yeah.
had a hard time just due to location, having a decent church to go to,
Right.
and I just had to persevere. Jesus says, "Seek the kingdom," right?
Hmm.
And in the reading today, it was the paralytic being let down. Think about the energy that they put into trying to get to Christ, that they would break through the roof, right?
Right.
And so I was just thinking, like, that shows like that persistence in seeking. And yeah, sometimes it takes that persistence, and sometimes you might have to wait years.
Right.
But if we're consistent, then what's the parable of the judge? The woman who the judge doesn't like the woman, she's annoying, but she just pesters the judge until he finally gives her what she wants.
Yeah.
And, Jesus says, well, how much better is it because, you're not an annoying woman, God's your father. So,
Right. Right.
yeah, I think if we continue with that persistence, usually we get rewarded.
Yeah, I know a lot of people, that I've met through the internet that are, 6 hours from their nearest church,
Right.
and that's definitely a more brutal situation than something I had where I was like 3 blocks away, and I grew up like across the street from it too, which I felt
Oh,
really
wow.
stupid. I'm like, man, it's been there this whole time. And yeah, as far as we talk about the sort of the negatives that can come with doing the online work, I think that that's just a given. You mentioned about how it's actually there for your spiritual growth and stuff, and that is one of the prayers that I say often is to remember. I think it's the prayer of Saint Philaret of Moscow. It says to remember that all are sent by you. Whoever approaches, like, everyone is sent by God, whether they're your persecutors, your slanderers, or your friends, your allies, or whatever. I think that that's
Yeah, exactly. That's what the quote I was looking for. Was thinking about was that. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, I think that definitely that's we should understand that, like, the better that you are at this, the more effective and efficient you are at speaking the truth, like, also the more attacks are going to come. The more people are going to come out and try to, subvert what you're doing or try to
Oh, yeah.
character
Big time.
assassinate you and stuff like that. And so I would just say to be confident in the fact that, like I said, real recognizes real, and like there's a lot of good people that aren't going to be like, oh, he said the bad word, he sucks, dude. You know what I mean? Like, honestly, like, it says blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness sake, and that's what we should understand, that like that's what's gonna, if we're doing it right, if we're doing it good, like that's what's gonna happen. You know
Right.
what I mean? And to not to shirk away from that, but to embrace that and to understand, like, yeah, okay, it's real, it's what's gonna happen. So I would just say, don't, not that you need my opinion, but like don't let that stuff get you down, because like that's a good sign. That's a good sign that there's all these like demonic spurgs that want to attack you and stuff. I mean, I get people that come into my chat and they start taking shots at you. And what's so funny is it's like, I know you guys. Y'all are in, they come in with like an Orthodox like channel name or whatever, And it's like, I know you're in the church because of Jay. And like the first step that you do is to kill your internet daddy. It's like I become Orthodox because of Jay. Now I got to take him down. It's like this weird edible complex, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's
Yeah, that is weird. I guess it's a situation where people have unrealistic expectations of what you thought somebody was or what they're going to be, and then you realize that they're still human beings. So
right.
you know that's part again. That's a part of that growing up maturation process that I think that is really you're really susceptible to that if you're 17, 18, 19.
Yeah.
And if you have a tendency to be a little spurgy,
Yep.
which I'm that way too.
I
So
am definitely that way.
I
I'm
was when I was
definitely
18, 19, 20. I mean, I had a lot of heroes that I
yeah.
worshipped, and when I would see things that they did wrong, it was a big letdown to me. But that's all part of your maturation process.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, if anybody wants to see me, totally naive, like just go back like 4 or 5 years ago and see Trump, during the Trump era. I'm like, yeah, he's gonna. I was on with Tristan, doing interviews and stuff. I'm like, I don't know, man. I think this Trump guy, he's gonna drain the swamp, dude. And so that's like super naive too, looking back. And it's just, yeah, it's just a part of growing up and learning more about how the world works, and understanding that there are no good. Christ says there are none good but the Father. Like none are good, and that's something that I've definitely come to realize more and more. It's like, no, yeah, we're all pretty garbage, and we are only good in as much as we can express those energies of God that are good, and that the good comes from God. And so that's why it's like with Orthodoxy, yeah, we're all sinful, wretched people, but when you're in the church, you're angled towards the bullseye. You've at least got your eye on the bullseye, and so when you miss the mark, you can adjust and try to hit it again. Whereas outside of the church, you're just sort of lost to sea, throwing darts whichever way. But people come into the church and they have an unrealistic expectation, not only of other people, but of themselves as well. They expect,
Yes.
okay, I'm going to enter the church and then I'm never going to sin again, and my priest is perfect and he never sins. And then they come in and then they see, oh, there's a bunch of sinners out here. And then a lot of times we see people leave the church after about a year. And I think partially it's because it's hard and they have a perfectionist mindset. I think partially it's because they get disappointed because it's not the perfection that they were looking
Yeah,
for,
exactly.
and
Yeah,
so,
unrealistic expectations, and I remember reading about various saints who, whatever sins they struggle with, they struggle with those their whole life.
right,
And so the idea that you're going to be perfected, the year that you convert to the church is ridiculous. I mean,
right. Well,
you're, you're
Father
gonna
Turbo.
you're gonna sin every day. What are you talking about?
Right, exactly. Yeah, Father Turbo, shout out to Royal Path. I know they're patristic faith contributors as well. He's talked about on one of his podcasts about the cross and how every Christian, for following in the footsteps of Christ, like that's where it's leading. It's leading to the cross, right? We pick up our cross, we carry it, but where are we carrying it to? We're carrying it to our crucifixion. And that cross, we always say, that's a cross I have to bear, right? So whether it's your addiction or whether it's whatever your sin is, that's the cross we're bearing. That's the thing by which you are deified. That's the thing by which you are sanctified, right? By carrying that cross, by struggling against that sin, you eventually are crucified upon it. And it's that thing which then glorifies you and makes you holy. And I think that was a really enlightening thing that Father Turbo had brought up. That's like, yeah, not only are you going to sin, but it's like eventually through the grace of God and through Christ's help, we're going to overcome, or God's going to overcome that sin through us if we can sort of cultivate enough faith to allow it to happen. You know,
Right.
so yeah, no, we're all sinners, and I think that when people come out and they start to be fake and they try to be this phony pious Christian, you're actually hurting the truth of it, because that's what brought me into the church. That's what brings a lot of people in the churches. They see that it's true, opposed to all the fakeness in the world. And then when somebody comes out and they're doing this fake thing, it actively hurts the message, which is like,
Right.
no, we are all sinners. We all suck, dude. Like that's the point,
Yeah, exactly. And we also don't have to, blast and portray to the world how much of a sinner I am. Not saying you're
Right,
doing that, but that's another trap. It's another kind of
right.
another way to just sort of project, your
Yeah,
own ego or whatever through. Look how pious I am. Look how pious I am.
yeah.
I'm
It's
so
an
pious that
anti-pride.
I will tell you my sins.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, so those are things that are appropriate to you, your spiritual father, and to your prayer corner, right?
Mhm.
Jesus says to go into your inner rooms. He says the hypocrites pray out on the street corners with their hands up so that everyone will see them praying and fasting.
Right.
It's the very
Yeah.
opposite of what, Christ says to
Yeah.
do.
No, that's true. It's like an anti-pride. It's like actually Rachel called mentioned this to me the other day. She's like, "Stop saying what a piece of garbage you are, dude." She's like, "That's not humility. That's like this weird like pride in your own sin." I'm like, "Yeah, you're kind of right on that." But I mean, it just comes from my own sort of I don't know, my own sort of downfalls or whatever. I'm sort of that kind of person, like piece of shit. But there is a truth to that as well, where it's again, Father Turbo always talks about the royal path. It's or you guys talk about, it's not either or, it's both and, right? And there's usually a middle ground, right? So not one extreme or the other. You can either be really, really ultra, pious, or really, really ultra, I'm a horrible person. And I think the royal path is that sort of middle ground where, yeah, you're not tearing yourself apart either way. You're there to help people, and you're there living the life in the church. And I don't think we can really divorce, like you said, the work with the spiritual father in the actual church from the theology, from the philosophy that it is displayed on the internet. Because really, that's what we're doing on the internet, is we're talking about the philosophy, or what you guys are doing. Talk about the theology, talk about the philosophy, whether you're debating and stuff like that. But then the praxis that's actually practice in real life, like you cannot divorce that. You cannot have one without the other, like you had mentioned earlier. And so that's
Yeah,
a
I mean,
super important
ideally,
point.
it wouldn't really even be appropriate for me to be talking about theology.
Mhm.
And I'm happy not to talk about it because it's not the role for a person like me, ideally, anyway. It should be the
Mhm.
clergy that do that. But unfortunately, a lot of them don't do it. And that, they don't know the ins and outs of all these other worldviews. And, they have concerns with parish life and practical things that they have to deal with. So that
Mhm.
they don't have the time and the ability to go into the stuff that we go into. So I suppose it serves a purpose providentially, but it's not really what a person like myself should be doing. So
Well, it all depends on how you do it as well, too. I mean, I know you have a blessing from your spiritual father to talk about the things you talk about, and you're not going out there saying I'm your, your priest. I'm where you're going to get your spiritual information from. You're just sharing the information and the knowledge that you've gleaned after over a decade of personal study. Much like what, when I was talking to Father Zechariah Lynch, he's like, this is just my blog. He's a priest. He's like, this is my blog. I'm just sharing my opinion. That's what I do on my channel. I say and that's one of the main reasons why I tell everybody what a sinful person I am, is because I'm like, I'm not, I know nothing. I'm a freaking slow boy, dude. Like, I'm just telling you the things that I've learned in my own life that were useful to me, with the whole point being go to the church, talk to the priest, and that's the point, right? And, check everything I say against a spiritual father. And I also actively try not to talk about like deep theological issues or anything like that. Basically just talk about my experience and my life. And it's like my channel is so lame, dude. It's like a journal. It's like a diary, but it's become this like fun thing where it's like I just been building it.
Well, yeah, if it's right. Enjoyable, then that's probably better than something where you feel constrained to always talk about, I don't know, one thing. That's what I always liked about expanding into talking about more topics, is that again, it's just sort of a reflection of interest, right? So I can connect with people that have similar interests, and I don't feel constrained to talk about one niche, which might have grown the channel quicker, I don't know, but I'm more, I have other dimensions to what I'm interested in. So
yeah, and also the slower growth model for YouTube, in my opinion, it seems to be way better than sort of like if you started a channel all about this is how you fix engines in the car, then you get, okay, 6 million viewers, but those viewers don't really give a crap. It's like they're watching because they want to learn how to fix their engine. The sort of model that you use, or that most of us use, of slow but sure steady growth, it's like the audience that does come are really engaged with the material, and they get to know you and they like you and they want to support actively. Like they want to see you, improve and do better and stuff. And so I think that's
exactly.
a much better way. Yeah.
It is a better route. Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first started blogging, like in 2007, I was really interested in the clicks, because I thought, oh, if I just get big numbers, big clicks. And I realized that that's not really affecting much, right?
Right.
It'd be better to build quality audience over quantity. And so I think that's why that model is better.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people too. Yeah, they when they don't do it, they judge a channel's success, like you said, based on clicks or by numbers. And it's like, if you even look at like my channel, like the last stream I did had like 100 views, but the people that were there are awesome, and they're supporting and they're super chatting, and they're it's like I look at that, I'm like, man, this is going successful as hell. Like I'm doing great. Whereas another channel might see I only got 50,000 views this video. That's horrible.
Yeah,
like I'm sucking. So yeah, it's been awesome, man. It's been a real blessing for me. Now I know you don't have that much time, so let's, if you don't mind, I'm gonna subject you to something.
Sure.
All right. The audience has to watch this horrible stuff, and so now you do too. This one is Alien Gods, Jesus' Spaceship, Operation Prayer Power. Welcome to the Aetherius Society. Have you ever heard of the Aetherius Society?
No. What is it?
Okay, so it's this weird.
I have not heard of that.
Yeah, Aetherius. So it's this weird alien cult that prays into a battery to charge the battery for world peace. So, sorry, I made the ad play again, but yeah, it's only like 5 minutes long. It's ridiculous. I also have a Mormon cartoon. It was a banned cartoon from the Church of Mormonism, Latter-day Saints. That well, I'll just let you see it when it's time.
See the great and wondrous glory.
The cornerstone of our belief system is about invoking spiritual energy and sending it out to help people. It just so happens that it's extraterrestrials who are teaching us to do this.
The concept of aliens in popular culture is largely limited to little green probing perverts from sci-fi movies. However, there are a group of men and women operating out of a church in Parsons Green, London, who take the matter very seriously.
It's always the British people, dude. We gotta do something about London, man. They're messed up over there.
They are the Aetherius Society, and to them, aliens are gods. The society was founded in 1955 by a London cabbie called Dr. George King, after he claimed to come into contact with aliens. A Venus-based alien master named Aetherius would communicate wisdom and guidance for mankind through his voice box.
See, I could see you rocking those glasses. And all I wanted to say was, could you imagine being in a cult that was started by a cabbie? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a cabbie, dude. Come on.
I am new.
Yeah, right.
Is Aetherius.
Jesus, Buddha, Gandhi, also aliens, sent down to better the human race. I'm honoured to be invited to Operation Prayer Power, their annual pilgrimage to Holston Down in Devon. This is where Jesus first came down in a spaceship from Venus.
Can you tell me what the Aetherius Society does?
We send out energy from places like this to the world as a whole for healing, for peace, but we do it in cooperation with beings from other planets.
Right. So aliens.
If you like, yes. A number of the great spiritual figures of history, Buddha, Sri Krishna, were from other planets.
Is there someone alive now that you think can have these powers?
One person that I've met that I believe came from another planet was Dr. King.
Right. Anyone else?
Does he mean Martin Luther King?
It's few and
Jr.?
far between, but
That's what
Gandhi
I
is a recent.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's what I thought. But no, their cabbie cult leader.
Oh,
his name is
okay.
Dr. King. Yeah. I was like, really? Martin Luther King?
Obama.
I've got no reason to believe that whatsoever, no. So over here, we're going to place the battery on the tripod down there, and then you'll have what we call a prayer team, and they'll come down in groups of 3. They'll be putting the energy in the battery, and all the others will be gathered around sending mantra through that person praying into the battery. Politics isn't really working, but this does work because it changes the consciousness of humanity. And then you won't have the poverty, the war, and all the rest of it.
Well, sounds great. Can't wait.
That's what we're working for.
Yep, hope it works.
So you've been doing this since the 40s, and if we pray into the battery, there's no more poverty or war, but there's still poverty and war. Like, don't seem like it's been working very well. I don't know.
It's just so bizarre. I think it's sad that I guess people, the world is so fractured and insane and postmodern that like any potential thing can be a belief system. People can fall into any cult.
Right.
It's just that unstable, I guess. And so people are looking for meaning and stability in anything.
That, and they're looking for community as well, right? They're so isolated and alone.
Right.
It's like, oh, well, we could go sit out on the prairie and pray into the battery, and at least I'm with my friends.
I'll touch the alien battery if I can have friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So do I.
It was finally time to begin the operation. The battery was unsheathed, the prayer teams prepped, and the prayer assessors pen in hand.
So here we are, and it, of course, is the 59th anniversary today, isn't it, of the charging of this wonderful, wonderful holy mountain. Has everybody been given the mantra that we're going to use today? Good. Okay, that's great. So why don't we prepare ourselves then to become channels and tune in to this wonderful, wonderful power in this place, put here by the beloved Master Jesus himself.
See, I find that really interesting that like they always use the name of Jesus, you know? It's like the same thing we see with atheists where it's like, okay, you don't believe in Christ, but then you spend your entire life trying to destroy Christ, you know, trying to like prove the Christians wrong, you know? They're on this like their war path. And then like the cults, they love to use the name of Jesus too, as well, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus is a cutout, right? That can be used by evangelical mind control cults, by alien cults, by New Age cults. Yeah, I mean, I think it's in even institutional cults, Roman Catholicism, right? Forms a Jesus that's malleable to whatever the needs of the situation are. If it's a medieval Jesus that leads us on crusades, that's the true Jesus according to Pope Urban.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a Jesus that prays in the mosques with all the other world religions, then that's the Jesus of Vatican II. I mean, so Jesus is always conformed to whatever the needs of the time are, Jesus, right? In all of these false religions. And that's a sure sign, I think, of a religious engineering or religious manipulation is when you see that kind of a thing. Because obviously there's no comparisons or connections at all between aliens and Christ. I mean, it's just completely, so it has to rely on a tremendous amount of ignorance. I mean, to me, it's just odd that if I was going to involve myself in a religion that claimed some connection to Jesus, I would want to know more about Jesus, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so to me, it would be like, well, I would want to study some and have some, and I wouldn't just trust, cult leader, whoever, Cabby King or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
the king of taxis. Yeah, that's the main reason I wanted to show you this, because you've spoken at length on cult creation and on the sort of groups like this, and so I figured you'd have something good to say about this.
Raise the hands, please. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum.
Almighty Father of all creation, let your light.
Would you guys be mad if I converted? I mean,
Dude, this is the
I'm
best
starting
part.
to vibe with this.
Starting to feel it. Yeah, this is the best part about it. When like I think the person after the next person, their face and the way that they go all in. It's so cringe. Dude.
Well, now.
It's kind of like sorcery without witches and more cagoules. Someone's given me a coat and hat. Some people are definitely better at doing it than others.
Ah, the planetary one, who had, at this time, sacrificed peace.
I'm one of the lucky ones. I was born into it. I was never forced
Is it
into it.
ecumenist if I joined in that prayer?
I think so. Yeah.
Is that an acceptable ecumenism?
Right. Yeah. I'm curious what Frank would have to say about that. Like, are these people welcome in the Abrahamic family house? Like, they said you can go even if you're not a Muslim. You can go use the mosque. Even if you're not a Christian, you could go use the temple or whatever. Like, I wonder if these people could bring their battery in and do the mantra.
One thing that people may misinterpret, that my parents were like, you have to join the society. There's nothing like that. It was totally natural, and I just know there's no ways that this could just be made up. So it comes from somewhere. Either our masters made this up, but he must be absolutely extraordinary, or it's space intelligences or angels.
I came across Dr. King's teachings along my research. My memory became so much more sharper and clearer. I was starting to become more psychic. I was starting to pick up thoughts from other people. And for me, that was like proof that Dr. King's teachings and his philosophy and his practices are real.
Some psychics can see the lower end of the spectrum, which is the fairies and the pixies. And I've seen some of those.
Of course, you're going to have the boomer lady who talks about the fairies. You know what I mean?
Well,
You've seen pixies?
yes, and my pets have seen them.
Really? Did they tell you they've seen them?
Well,
My 9 cats have seen them.
they all looked up together on one occasion, and there was this humanoid figure about so big.
I started my spiritual journey about 7 or 8 years ago. I guess the best way that I can explain it is
saying,
If they don't, like, I'd be very shocked. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm saying,
they haven't mentioned it.
Okay.
And I only watched up until about the next minute. I think that's where I left off. But yeah, it doesn't appear like
they're not doing ayahuasca up there on the hill or whatever.
Right, yeah.
It's a bit like a scene from Star Wars, actually, The Force Awakens. Did you watch?
Oh no, it looks like they pulled it looks like I'm getting hit for playing this, so I gotta take this I gotta take the screen down because they hit me with the
yeah, I hate that.
Yeah,
it's annoying.
What the fuck, dude? All right, let's wait for it to pop back up. If it will, even. Jesus. Ugh. See, I knew I should have tested that first. Well, I don't know. you got the point, though. That was a pretty messed up.
Alien cults, right?
Yeah, alien cult. All right. Are they going to bring me back? Come on now.
In all your hobo journeys, did you meet any weird cult member people?
I spent some time with the Hare Krishnas.
Oh, wow.
Which actually kind of got a funny story about that. So I was in Denver and I ran into this like Hare Krishna group of like 3 dudes, bald with the orange robes and everything. And I was reading a book on sadhus at the time. Do you know anything about sadhus? They're the Naga Babas, the naked yogis, they call them. So like, remember when CNN had that thing where they were eating human brains on? Yeah. So that's the sadhus. They're like basically this, Hindu form of almost like a hobo dirty kid where they travel around and visit holy temples and ashrams and stuff, and legally they're considered dead. And so I was reading a book about it, and I was really interested. So I asked them, I said, hey, are you guys like the sadhus? And they go, oh, well, we pretty much like, if they heard about us, they'd be down with what we're doing. It's all Hinduism, right? And so I went to their temple, and I actually was there for one of their like Hare Krishna ceremonies. All right, we're back. Sweet. I was there for one of the Hare Krishna ceremonies, and it was crazy, man. They had like kids, and it was like the way I could describe it was like wolves howling together. That's the vibe. It's like they're all dancing and shaking and, saying the Hare Krishna mantra over and over and over again. Kids, smacking the tambourine and dancing around and stuff. And it elicited the feeling of like a group of like primal like wolves howling. And then they had a big vegan feast afterwards. And the funniest part about that story was that on the drive to the temple, we're in their minivan. So it's like 3 Hare Krishna bald guys in the minivan, right? With me and my girlfriend. And they stopped to get gas, and all 3 of them were arguing over who was going to pay for the gas. I just remember sitting there thinking, like, super spiritual, bro.
Yeah, right.
All these like Hare Krishnas, like, nah, dude, I paid for it last week, bro. You got to pay for it. Like, where's the money coming for all that stuff?
So
as far as
what are the
cults,
temples like? Do they have altars, or how's it work?
It was like basically a big room. It's just one big room, and then they pass out instruments, and then they teach you how to do the mantra. So
do they have images in an altar, or is it just a room?
I do believe there's images. They have like the prayer beads, like the little fluffy poofy balls. And again, this was 12 years ago now, so I'm like really struggling to get the images back. But I just remember it being a big room, and they had quite a lot of people. There was Denver, so a large city. A lot of people there, a lot of kids, and yeah, they did the thing. And then of course they had a big vegan feast afterwards. And so yeah, sorry about that, everybody. I'm glad we're back. I guess Vice did pull it down. Damn, see, I had a New York Times video about that same cult that I was going to play, and I go, nah, New York Times is going to take me down. But Vice, I've shared Vice videos before, and they've never pulled the streams before. So I assumed that they wouldn't pull the stream. It looks like they did, though. So so sorry to everybody, but thank you. I'm glad we're back. I'm glad that they didn't just like delete the stream, because that would have sucked. But yeah, so the only other thing I could share is this Mormon cartoon. Do you want to see that or not? It's pretty good.
Is it the old one of the God makers and all that?
It's like 5 minutes. It looks like it's done in the style of like He-Man. It's pretty.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Silly.
It's a classic. I'm familiar with it. Yeah.
Okay, you've seen it. All right, I won't play it then.
Well, you can do whatever you want.
All right. Well, I just wanted to if you'd seen it, I wasn't sure if I was gonna play it, but I'll play it for the audience, because I haven't played this yet. This is like one of the main things we do over here is I'll find I'll find like the stupidest stuff I can find and watch it with people. Like the other day we did a Juggalo stream where we watched that guy. I don't know if you guys know that dude, Brandon Buckingham. He did a video with Sam Hyde recently, and his channel's actually been changing a lot recently. I like the direction it's been going in, but he has a whole thing on Juggalos, and we did like a whole watch along series for every time he goes back to the Juggalo convention. It's brutal.
That's funny.
It's brutal, dude. All right. So yeah, y'all, this is the banned Mormon cartoon, and it does get a little spicy, surprisingly. I wouldn't think that it would, but I guess the Mormons get down like that. So see, I'd never heard of this. You said this is a classic. I never heard this before. I guess I'm just out of the loop, but this was the first I found. I asked everybody in our group chat. I was like, please, people, send me cringe. I'm having Jay on, like, send me stuff. Oh, hang on. Do I have this on the screen? Have I shared this? I didn't even share this yet. My bad. Unprofessional. What am I doing? All right. There we go.
They say that long ago on one of these planets, to an unidentified god and one of his goddess wives, a spirit child named Elohim was conceived. This spirit child was later born to human parents who gave him a physical body. Through obedience to Mormon teaching and death and resurrection, he proved himself worthy and was elevated to godhood as his father before him. Mormons believe that Elohim is their heavenly father and that he lives with his many goddess wives on a planet near a mysterious star called Kola. Here, the God of Mormonism and his wives, through endless celestial sex, produced billions of spirit children. To decide their destiny, the head of the Mormon gods called a great heavenly council meeting. Both of Elohim's eldest sons were there, Lucifer and his brother Jesus. A plan was presented to build planet Earth, where the spirit children would be sent to take on mortal bodies and learn good from evil. Lucifer stood and made his bid for becoming savior of this new world. Wanting the glory for himself, he planned to force everyone to become gods. Opposing the idea, the Mormon Jesus suggested giving man his freedom of choice, as on other planets. The vote that followed approved the proposal of the Mormon Jesus.
Now, you've seen this before. Do you know anything about, because I know nothing about where this comes from, if this is the Mormons produced this or not? Like, do you know anything about this? Because I don't.
No, this is a evangelical critique of Mormonism. It's a very famous documentary.
Okay, that makes more sense, because when they say the Mormon Jesus, I would think that the Mormons wouldn't say that. They just say Jesus.
No, I mean, this is their theology, though. Yeah.
Right.
Becomes savior of the planet Earth. Enraged, Lucifer cunningly convinced 1/3 of the spirits destined for Earth to fight with him in revolt.
Yeah, Jim Bob says, I like the animation style. When I watched this earlier today, I immediately thought of
I was going to say, it looks like a teenage, it looks like Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah.
Right.
I thought of He-Man.
Or like, yeah, if, who's the Beavis and Butthead guy, right?
Mike Judge.
If Mike Judge did, like,
Yeah.
He-Man. And why is Lucifer, like, why does he have he's got a Amish beard going on there.
Yeah, yeah. I actually was looking for Amish cringe to pull up tonight, and I couldn't find anything. It's hard to find videos of Amish people doing cringe stuff because they don't usually take videos themselves.
Well, they don't like to be videoed. We had an Amish dude when I was doing a video of my hometown with Jamie.
I remember that.
Yeah, I was trying to film them. They was like, "No, you can't."
The AQ, yeah, the AQ, the Amish.
And I was like, "You don't want to be filmed because you're running the world, bro."
Yep, the AQ. Yeah, one of the first things you ever said to me was that I looked like an Amish drug dealer. You remember that?
I said that?
Asshole. Yeah. Yeah, back in the day when I called. Yeah, on a stream. I called into Primal Edge Health. This is like 3 years ago. And I had that black hat on and I was talking. You're like, you look like an Amish drug dealer, bro.
No, I meant you actually are. I don't mean you look like one. I mean, you are one.
Yeah. Dude, I was dying. I still laugh about that today. It's really funny.
Thus, Lucifer became the devil and his followers the demons. Sent to this world, they would forever be denied bodies of flesh and bone. Those who remained neutral in the battle were cursed to be born with black skin.
Ooh, see, that's where it gets a little spicy, dude. Like
the Mormon explanation for the Negro race. The spirits that fought most valiantly against Lucifer would be born into Mormon families on planet Earth. These would be the lighter-skinned people.
It's so funny too because everybody thinks of the Mormons as like the nice people, right? Every time you ask somebody about Mormonism, they're like, they're so nice, they're so friendly, they're the best, and they've got this like super racist theology. I never.
They have all kinds of stuff. I mean, they borrowed their rituals from Masonry. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's the main reason why
they had the blood libel law under the period of Joseph Smith and Brigham Young, where you could put somebody to death for, I don't know, for certain sins. So
right, yeah, pretty much all I know about Mormonism. One of the buddies that we have in the chat was used to be in the Latter-day Saints church or whatever. I've been wanting to get him on to talk about it because I don't know much. I know basically what I know is from like South Park, and they're like making fun of Mormonism. Oh, he got something out of a hat. He pulled shit out of a hat and like had a bunch of wives, and it just seemed like a big hoax so he could go around banging women and puffing up his pride or whatever. So that's the main reason why I wanted to pull this cult stuff up, because I know that you're really knowledgeable on sort of the histories of these things. Like, yeah. So
in short, there was, he was into ritual magic, and he used a magical stone his peep stone to translate the golden tablets, which are the records of the lost tribes, supposedly in North America. And I mean, it's preposterous. Right.
Wow.
So
So like a
But yeah,
scrying stone?
The actual theology is exotheology, so it's like space opera theology.
Right. Yeah. No. I'm thinking of Scientology with the
Well,
planet.
that's an exotheology too. They're both space operas. They're just different versions of it.
Yeah. You asked me about when I was traveling if I came across any other cults. The only other thing that was very culty. I don't know if you probably didn't see this, but I just did a stream with Maddie from Digital Minefield about my time as an eco activist. I was actually involved right out of high school with like. I don't know if you know the group Earth First, but it's like a radical eco-terrorist group, basically. And I went and spent this like they do these what they call rendezvous twice a year. They have like the national rendezvous and they have local ones. And I went to a national one and we spent 2 weeks in the mountains. And it's basically a terrorist like jihadi training camp for eco activists where they teach you how to monkey wrench bulldozers and how to do all this stuff. And so we spent 2 weeks in tents in the mountains, like, studying this stuff. And then we went and actually did like a direct action. So I actually did a stream with Maddie. If one of the mods wants to link that, where I went.
And is she a former member of this group or?
No. So Maddie's just a homie. He actually runs Jay Dyer Out of Context, the Instagram page. And so that's our homeboy. He's got a really small channel. He just started the channel like recently. And, he just does it for fun. He's not like trying to blow it up or anything. But I was kind of bummed that video didn't get more views because like I went pretty hard on that and telling the whole story and how, there's a lot there as far as activism and the way that they use people and the way that that's structured and the money and where does the money come from, all that stuff. And that was the reason why I bring it up is because there was culty aspects to it, like pretty hardcore. At one point, like they would have these group bonding rituals because we were there for 2 weeks, and they had these group bonding rituals. We had big bonfires, at the end of the night, and like people got naked and formed human triangles and like really pagan stuff, like weird hippie shit, everybody used code names,
oh, wow.
Yeah.
You think it was like a Fed run thing?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. I didn't realize that at the time, but looking back, it's like for sure. Because the thing is it's an anarchist group. Because I was super into the whole anarchism thing. That's how I got involved in this stuff. I was involved with my local sort of the community. I'm from Buffalo. I was in the local anarchist circles here, and then one of my buddies through the Food Not Bombs group that I was associated with told me about Earth First, and we went together to go do this action or whatever. And when I went there, it's like, okay, anarchy, bro, but there's like 3 organizers, it's like anarchy, bro, but there's these organizers.
Yeah, there's a hierarchy. There always is, right?
Of course. And they're getting paid, and there's 400 people here. Who's feeding all these people? Where's all the water come from? Where's all the it's like where
there's
does
a movie that you should watch. Have you ever seen The East? I think it's Tony Scott film.
No.
Yeah, it has Britt Marling, that blonde chick that's in all those weird sci-fi movies. It's called The East. Okay. And she's tasked with infiltrating a radical eco group that sounds exactly like what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So you would find it interesting.
Yeah, this was the first thing I ever talked to Tristan about when I first called into his show years ago. I told him about my experiences doing that. And after seeing that was one of the first things that sort of pushed me out of the whole lefty mindset, was seeing that and seeing I forget how many people got arrested, but a lot of people got arrested at the end of that,
oh, really?
for felon, for people were going there, when they're chaining themselves to trucks. They walked into the building. And so they got charged with breaking and entering. They were, we set up a monopod and they chained themselves to the monopod, and like I said, I go all into it. I think we did like a 3-hour stream telling the whole story, but at the end of it, I almost got arrested. I was states away. I was like 17 years old at the time, like 6 states away from my hometown, right? Like out in the middle of the woods somewhere fighting for this cause that I thought I believed in, right? To save Mommy Earth. And then I almost got thrown in jail and I met a person there that just got out of prison. She spent 30 years in prison for setting fire to a logging facility. She got charged with arson. She like burned down this logging facility, and everybody there like circled around her like she was this like, celebrity. It's like, that girl just got out of jail. She 30 years. And they would actually tell you in these training classes that we went to, like, if you're a white cisgendered, male or whatever, American, you have the privilege to get arrested. It's your privilege to be arrested. You should want to be arrested because the illegal immigrants don't have a voice. You have your voice. So go get arrested for the cause. You know what I mean? And some really messed up stuff there. Is also, so that's definitely the most culty thing that I had experienced.
I'm probably gonna have to head out pretty soon. Not trying to be rude, but
yeah,
I got to be out here in a little bit.
No worries, man. No worries. But yeah, as I've been lucky enough to sort of avoid the cults through most of my life. I really sort of mainly did my own thing, but yeah, that stuff was the closest I came for sure. Seriously, thank you so much for coming on. I'm going to read the super chats and then we will we'll wrap up. Thank you to everybody who's here. If you could please like and share. Like I said earlier, if you want to support the channel, if you like what we're doing, you can donate via any of the links in the chat and in the description. You can also sponsor streams by setting $100 with the topic that you want me to cover. I will spend 10 hours covering it, and then I'll produce a 1 to 3 hour stream on it. So if you guys want to support the channel that way, that's how you do it. Thomas Henderson sends in $10. Thank you so much, Thomas. Really appreciate you, brother. Let's see. We got Aaron sends in 5. He says 5 for you, 5 for Jay. Mad props to you both. All right. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate that. I will accept that props. And Jason sends in $5. Thank you so much, Jason. Jason, you're the man, dude. You're always helping out the show, and I really appreciate you, bro. And let's see. Maddie sends in $4. Didn't say nothing. Thank you, Maddie. Looks like Baselet Analyzer put it in. He says, for shouts out to Jerry and JD. Thank you so much. Everybody go subscribe to the Baselet Analyzer. It's one of my best homies on here, dude. His channel is one of my all-time favorites. Jay's actually done some videos with him that are really good. And that's it. That's all of them. So thank you so much, Jay. I really appreciate you, brother. And I'm glad to have got you on before you got so famous that you didn't have time to do small channels like this anymore. So I'm glad we finally got it done. God bless you, brother. Keep pushing, man. And I'm going to keep supporting the work that you do. And like I said, thank you so much for letting me even be a part of it. You know what I mean? It's an honor to be able to help out and pitch in. And I know all the other mods feel the same. So
absolutely, dude. Thank you.
Yep.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. All right. Y'all, everybody, thank you so much for being here. That was fun. Sorry about it cutting out there. Yo, I'm like, oh man, freaking stream cut out. Come on now. But I'm glad that they didn't totally delete the show. That would have sucked. That would have sucked major. Jesse says Earth First was founded by a psychopath killer. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. Thank you to everybody who has supported the channel. Thank you to everybody who has supported the channel throughout the years or liked, shared, donated, all of it, sponsored shows. I really appreciate all you guys. And we're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep trying to get more guests on, better conversations. And I do want to sort of go down the list with the patristic faith guys because that website is just so great, man. And they're just full of great guys doing apologetical works and so good. So I'm going to try to get Father John Whiteford on. I've had a lot of people ask me to invite him on. I'm going to try to invite Father Turbo on. Somebody sent me Father Turbo's email, so I'm going to try to get him on. And if you guys have any ideas of people you want to see me talk to, you can let me know, let them know, say, yo, talk to Jerry. All right. That really helps out a lot. Shoot, man. I'm really happy we got Jay on. I've been wanting to do that for so long. You know, I wanted to invite him on like a year ago, and I'm like, man, dude, I don't want to waste time. I don't know what we're going to talk about. So I just kept waiting. And then I was finally like, all right, if I don't bring him on soon, he's literally going to like end up being like Joe Rogan level and he's going to have no time to do my shitty little channel. So we got to get him on now, even if I don't have the best idea, right? Even if I have to subject him to terrible cringe that gets our stream taken down, I'm going to do it. And did it, we did. And did it, we did. And do it, we did. And it was good. And I appreciate y'all for being a part of it. Randy says a stream with Jim Bob would be fun. Dude, Jim Bob knows he's always welcome here. Jim Bob knows he's always welcome. So I reach out to Jim Bob and we'll try to get him to come back on. Maybe even Posh as well. I would love to have Posh back on. Thank you so much, Hanley. Seriously, you're the man. And massive shout out to the Baselet Analyzer, because he's the one that sent me that alien cult video that got us taken down. So I blame you, Henley. It's all your fault. Except that he didn't. He actually sent me a different one. And then I picked the other one so that I wouldn't get taken down. They still did. So as you guys can see, I suck at this YouTube thing. I'm not very good at it, but we're trying our best. Thank you so much, Rachel. She says she loves our cringe streams. Well, I love them too. Slow Boy. Shouts out to Slow Boy Whiteboard. Yo, 07's in the chat for Slow Boy Whiteboard. Always getting deleted, always getting nuked, always getting banned. We love you, Kristen. She runs our clips channel, EPL Clips. So if you guys want, go subscribe to EPL Clips. You can see her excellent edits. She does great clips. She throws pictures up on the screen while I'm jibber jabbing. She does such a great job. Everybody go subscribe to both Slowboy Whiteboard's channel and EPL Clips. And shoot, David says guest suggestion, Pope Francis. You know, I might break him off a piece. You know, if he asks nicely, he might get a little bit of my time. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. John Connor says, now you're getting famous, Jerry Bear. I hope not. I really hope not. See, I'm cool with like, you know, I'm cool with making money off of it. I'm cool with like, you know, as far as fame and fortune goes, fortune sounds great. Fame sounds like absolute hot garbage, right? Like, I don't want people to know me and I don't know them. That sounds terrible. I don't see any positive with fame other than like having an audience to like, if you got like a business, you know what I mean? It's a market. Oh, I wrote a book. Everybody buy my book. You know, I guess that makes sense, but I've never really been one for fame or clout or any of that stuff. I don't really like that. I don't really want that. Like I told Jay, like this channel has just been fun, man. It's just been me having something to build, you know. And as far as where I'm at in my life, you know, it's really been helpful, you know, mentally, spiritually, financially, everything. It's just been really helpful for me to have something to work on and build and see it grow. And so, dude, much love to all the homies, all the humble homies like Jay Dyer, who's cool enough to come, you know, to some Slow Boys channel and kick it and help me out. It's a massive help, you know. We saw quite a large audience today, and so obviously it helps out a lot when bigger channels come on smaller channels. And so that's a sign. People are always saying how prideful Jay is. Well, clearly he's not prideful. I've known Jay for I don't know how many years, and he's always been extremely gracious, extremely humble, which is why I get so pissed off when people say that and why I so ardently defend him. I'm like, actually, he's actually pretty humble. It's kind of nice. So I don't know what y'all are talking about. Rachel says, it's true, Jerry. I'm pretty uncomfortable with even my tiny level of fame, but I do it because it matters. Yeah, exactly. Fame is weird, man. Fame is a weird thing. Definitely, it's not what I'm after, but, you know, I'm also like, I don't really care either way, but I don't know. It's definitely, I don't understand the desire for fame, right? As Christians, we are actively taught to avoid the laurels of men, avoid the praise of men. That's why I feel bad talking to somebody like Jay that I respect and say, you're doing good stuff, because I know it's bad to do. You shouldn't tell. I think I read a quote from a saint that basically said, like, it's better to tell an evil person they're evil than to tell a person doing good work that they're good, right? Because you could puff up their pride. But I do feel it's important to support people, you know? When somebody's doing good stuff, you should, you know, encourage them is the point. And that's what I try to do it. And Keenan says, I do it for the children. Exactly. Think of the children, dude. Think of the children. Yeah, it sucks being an absolute icon, but I deal with it. So humble, dude. So humble. And then Tech Noir says, nobody knew who I was until I didn't wear the mask. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Well, guys, I think that was a successful show, right? I think that was pretty successful. Y'all, please like and share. Leave comments after the video is done. Really helps us out. And like I said, y'all, I'm gonna shill hard. Support the channel with the super chats after the fact, and I will love you forever. You'll be my best friend for the whole day, all day long. Y'all be my best friends. So until next time, y'all, Lil Ewok signing off. God bless you. Good evening. Peace.